Now, when you talk about profitability index, because you've already done the payback period, you've already covered the payback period, NPV and PI and NPV. Now, PI is simply the present value of inflows divided by the present value of outflows. And since you already have the cash flows that we need, I'll copy that, then move it down so that we can do the PI here. And this will be the place where we'll be doing our PI. The present value of inflows over the present value of outflows. Now we have the cash flows. Now the cash flows we use as they are up there. So I'll just do equal sign, then click on year, equal sign, then you click on year that we have under NPV, enter, and then drag the formula. You can drag it down all the way to year 5, all the way to year 5. You can also drag across so that it captures the other elements on the other side. So that is our cash flows that we have been given. Those are the cash flows. Those are the cash flows. Now again, with those cash flows, we still bring down the initial outlay, my initial outlay, and drag across. But I want this to be a positive, so I'll be doing equal sign then negative so that it comes as a positive figure. I'm not interested in having it as a negative because we are not deducting the outflow. We'll be dividing with the outflow. So you just negate so that it cancels the negative figure up there. Then the rate of return, that one has also been given as 12%. The rate of return is 12%, so we use 12% as it is. So that is the rate of return. In summary, profitability index is simply given by profitability index is given by present value, the present value of inflows over the present value of outflows, the present value of inflows over the present value of outflows. So the present value of inflows over the present value of outflows. Yeah, equal sign, then you click on you just take the same values, but don't copy and paste. Just use equal sign and click on the year and drag. It will bring the same values. So the present value of inflows over the present value of outflows. That way. Yes. Present value of inflows. The present value of inflows. We do NPV function, but don't add the outflow. You just do the normal net present value function, but you'll not be adding the outflow. If you do that, you'll only be remaining with the present value of inflows. So that will be equal sign, then NPV. So you do equal sign, then NPV, equal sign, then NPV, NPV. Now the rate is 12%, the rate is 12%, comma, then take the values from 25 million to the last one, to up to year 5. But now close the bracket, but don't use the outflow. The moment you bring in deducting the outflow, now it becomes net present value. But if you just get the inflows alone, it becomes the present value of inflows. When you enter, that becomes our answer. So that is the present value of inflows. The present value of inflows. Hash means the figure is big. So you just expand that. Now, what about the present value of outflows? Now, the present value of outflows is simply the initial outlay. You take the initial outlay as it is, the present value of outflows, because it's discounted back to year one, to year zero, I mean. The present value interest factor of year zero is simply 1. So 1 times 100 million remains 100 million. So that would become the answer for that. Then now your PI will be 13 over 100. So 113, 365, and divide with that 100. It gives us some answer that we can view there. So that is the final answer. The present value of inflows over the present value of outflows. 1.13. If you have a question on that, let us now move to the last part, which is using a graph determine the project's internal rate of return. Now you realize we've not done charts or graphs, but we want to use a graph so that we can determine the IRR. So we'll be copying that. Then we determine the IRR. I'll start by getting IRR using a formula. Then I'll proceed to get IRR using the graph. Remember, they said we should use a graph to get the IRR. Now, Roman 1, use of formula. So use of formula. This entire part needs some increase in the size of the font. So use of formula, getting IRR through the use of formula. And when you're using formula, not formula but function, use of IRR function. So we start by use of IRR function. Use of IRR function. Use of IRR function. Then again, we take the same values as above. Here, the cash flows as they are. So here and our cash flows. The year and the cash flows. Bring in the rate. So the rate has been given. Rate. But now this time round, I want to include the outflow. I simply want to include the outflow in year zero. So I'm bringing in year zero somewhere up there. So the rate is 12%, but we need to create a space here before year one. So we are inserting year zero. We are inserting year zero at the top. So you right click, then insert here. You simply right click and insert. Now the outflow was equal sign negative. Then get the 100,000. Make sure it's a negative figure as our outflow. So that is our outflow, or the cash flows from year zero all the way to year 5. And then also the cash flows, you can see 100,000 to 46,602. Now what is IRR? IRR using the IRR function, which we did yesterday as well. So IRR using the IRR function, equal sign IRR tab, just pick all the values. Of course, rate is not even used. You just pick the values as they are from 100,000, which is a negative figure, to 46. Now make sure your 100,000 is negative. You just select the way it is, close brackets and enter. That is the IRR of 17%. So our IRR is 16.75 in fact. 16.75 as our IRR. That one we don't use the rate. So the rate was there as a decoy because the answer should be a rate. IRR is a rate of return that gives you 0 NPV. So what we've done there is that if I'm to repeat the IRR function, equal sign, then IRR tab, then the values are from 100,000 all the way to 46. Close those brackets and then enter. That becomes our IRR. So when you do that exam, you go straight to what they asked. You just do IRR using the graph. So IRR now using a graph. IRR using a graph. So IRR using a graph. IRR using a graph. Using a graph. Now, when you're doing IRR using a graph, then it means we need some guessed rates of returns. So you're going to talk about rates. So you put rates there. Then cash flow, you put the cash flows here. Then finally NPV, just put NPV there. So we are going to guess the rates. The rates will be guessed from as low as 4% all the way moving to or even 3%, 4%, which will be increased by 3 to the end. Or you can start with the 4%, increase that with 2 as you move. So start with the 4% as your rate. The first rate is 4%. 4%. Remember, it's a guess. You can also be able to use any other guess of those rates if you want. So the first one is 4%. Increase it by, let me see, 2%. So equal sign. The first one plus 2%. Or plus 4%. Let me use 4% or 2%. The second one will be 6. 6. 6. Then drag from 6 moving down. Let's see. It must go beyond, I'm already at 22. Take it to 26. You take it to 26. So those are guessed rates. Just guessed rates. We started with the 4%, then we increased it with 2. So 4 was just written 4%. Then how did we get the 6%? Equal sign, then you take the 4% plus the 2%. So you click on the 4%, then you add manually 2%. Then you drag from that 6 moving down. Then cash flows. Cash flows have been given. Cash flows have been given. That is equal sign. Pick as it is up here from the 100. From the 100, then drag down. Because the first cash flow is 100. Drag it down to the last one, which is 46. The last one is 46. That way. Then now, after that, we compute NPV.
Hi, hello.
Yes, NPV using the NPV function. We now get NPV using the NPV function. That will be equal sign, then NPV tab. Now, the rate is 4%. Click on 4%. The rate is 4%. Don't lock, comma. The values pick from 100,000. From 100,000. Wait, don't pick from 100,000. I thought you are doing IRR. It's NPV that you are getting. So you pick from 25. From 25, the first inflow. Pick from 25 to 46. From 25 to 46. Then lock with absolute cell referencing. Lock with absolute cell referencing, that is F4. F4 on the keyboard, or FN F4. Close bracket. Then add, because now we are doing NPV, you then add the initial outlay. Now the initial outlay is 100, so you click on that 100. Mine is cell C86. Then lock the outflow as well. Lock the outflow as well. So NPV. If you enter, I hope you logged properly, then you enter. The answer is long, that's why you can see the hash. 2 decimal places, and we have some answer for our review. So the answer is 43,103, 364.70. If you copy this down, assuming you logged properly, then it will go all the way to those other answers that we see. Some NPVs are positive, while some NPVs are negative from what we've seen there. And that is the intention. You need to have a mix of positive NPVs and negative NPVs. Once you have the rates and the NPVs, you plot a graph. The most recommended graph to use is a line chart. So you do a line chart or even a scatter chart, but we can go for a line chart so that we can be able to get that. Now for that, you select from rates, start from the word rate. So from the word rate to the last percentage of 26, select all of them. Then hold down the control key, don't leave it. So you hold down the control key and don't leave it. Then select the NPV, don't select the cash flows. Select the NPV all the way moving down to the last one, from the word NPV to the last one. What you've just done there is known as non-continuous selection, and it's done by, so first, start from rates to the 26, then hold down the control key, the CTRL, make sure it's down, don't leave it. As the CTRL is down, you select from NPV, click on NPV and don't leave, then drag to 19. That is non-continuous selection. So it's made possible through the use of the control key being held down. Click on insert while your items are still selected, just click on insert. Then go to recommended charts. You will see under charts, there's a place for recommended charts. There's a place for recommended charts. Click on it. Insert, then recommended charts. Then you look for the chart that you want under the recommended before you click on OK. Which chart are we going for? So I can't see the line chart here. There's one here. There's some line chart here. Line chart here that we can go for. So there are two. You either go for this line, with whatever you see as a line chart, or this other one. Let me go for line, the one that has some that is scatter. There is scatter and line. There is scatter and line. We can go for any. Scatter is there, line is there. Go for line. Go for line. Or you can go to all charts, then you will see a place for line. All charts, then line. Then we just go for line. Then OK. You'll have your chart. Once you have your chart, you can extend the size of that chart. It becomes more big. Then after extending the size of the chart by putting it at just a side of your data, our intention is to get NPV, or not NPV, but IRR. So IRR is where NPV is 0. So you can see that our IRR is somewhere where this line is cutting the x-axis. So where the line is cutting the x-axis, around here, this is around 16, you can see, 16 point something. That is where the IRR is. So we edit the chart before we finish it. Simply edit the chart. There is a plus here on the right side of the chart, chart elements. So click on chart elements, then you'll see axis title. Make sure you click on axis title. That is the titles of the chart. There's a place for grid line. Click on the arrow on grid line. Then I prefer going for primary, minor, horizontal, and primary, minor, vertical. You can do away with the primary, major. Grid line. The arrow on grid line, we follow it up, then you'll see those elements. So the arrow on grid line, then go for primary, minor, horizontal, and primary, minor, vertical. Do away with primary, major. Now the x-axis, these are rates. We have rates. Then the other side, we have NPV. Then this is a chart showing the NPV, the IRR. A chart showing the IRR of a project. IRR of a project. That is the title. A chart showing the IRR of a project. Chart showing the IRR of a project. And you can use some arrows. You can insert some arrows. That is shapes. So insert a shape. You can insert a shape which has an arrow. Then say that this one here, around here, that is where the IRR is. So somewhere here, that is our IRR. IRR is around that particular zone that we have indicated. This line cannot get outside the chart. So somewhere here, insert then shapes. Insert then shapes. Insert then shapes. Yes. So I wanted an arrow to indicate where we have the IRR. It's around 16 point if you are to read this part. So it's not, let me pick another one. So insert shape, insert then shape, then go for lines, underline, you go for the arrow. This line with an arrow, and then you simply draw from here, moving to this side that way. So that's around 16 point something as our line. So what is IRR? What can you guess? IRR is approximately 16 point. That's approximately 16 point what? You can even say 16 point because it's around 16.5. Around 16 point. If we go with what we have up there, then that's around 16 point, even 5, though it's not clearly indicated. But IRR is around 16 point something as our final answer. It's not ijafika around 16 point something. 16.5, or from 16 we move to 17, around there. Before 17. So that could be maybe with what we have up there, 16.7. So around 16.7. You can put it at 16.7 as our IRR. So that is using of a chart. If you want to get IRR using a chart, then that is what we do.